Hello and welcome to the Speed of Sound podcast, a brand new podcast to the Veloce channel. We are joined with two very special guests for the first episode. First of all, we've got Mr. Benjamin Daly, Tiametmarduk.
G'day.
329,000 subscribers, so congratulations on that. And our second guest is Mr. Aarav Amin, Aarava, and 228,000 subscribers. So together, 500,000 subscribers. That's quite a lot of people when you think about that.
Yeah.
That's like 5-6 Wembley stadiums. So
yeah, that's pretty crazy. We put numbers like that.
Crazy, yeah. Did you ever expect it to be this big when you first started out?
No way.
I didn't even think there was enough people in the F1 community or just interested in F1 gaming in general to ever get to 100,000 subscribers. And I think Aarav can say it as well. And we're kind of still shocked that we're still growing.
Well, like when we started, the biggest guy doing it at the time, when literally me and you started our channels, was like 20,000 subscribers. So that was like the ceiling of the community. So the fact that Ben especially just keeps pushing that ceiling higher and higher is pretty crazy. Like we're kind of almost making F1 gaming fans, because you always get those like comments like every other week of like, oh, didn't like F1, now I do.
Yeah. It's just the best way to reach out to a new audience who maybe don't have the attention span to watch like a 2-hour-long Grand Prix. They see like a shortened career mode that's like 20 minutes or just an action-packed online race or something, and they can really get behind that, and through that they start following the sport, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you've been going for like 6-7 years now. I've got down here 2011, and you a year later in 2012. So you've been going for so long that it's just sort of boomed and grown from basically nothing. Like, how long did it take you back then to sort of get to, I'd say, 1,000?
So I kind of started commentating around 1,000 subscribers. I would have been uploading just like regular gameplay, no commentary for like 2 years, getting to 1,000, and then I started commentating, and then after that it kind of blew up a little bit. So they always say it, like full-time YouTubers, it takes like the longest time to get your first 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, it took like a year, I think, for my first 1,000. It took like 3 months for 300. And now it's kind of crazy to think like now I would hope to get 300 maybe less than a week. So it's pretty crazy to think back then. Like I remember sixth form sitting down in the common room, and I'd check my phone and I'd be happy if I got 2 subscribers that day. Like it'd be a really good achievement. So that kind of just shows the scale of everything. But yeah, that first 1,000, like 0 to 1,000 in anything, let alone YouTube, like just business. And they'll tell you like that going from nothing, 0 is so difficult in whatever you do. It's pretty unbelievable still. Yeah.
How do you feel like it's changed from being like back then to now? Like F1 community, obviously that's talked about quite a bit on Twitter, but how do you feel like all of that has sort of changed from when you were literally just starting out? Was there even a community back then?
There was. I think still like there's a lot of the old familiar folks still around talking about the racing and like that. I feel like on Twitter it's a more concentrated part of the community. Obviously, I don't really regard there being a wider community on YouTube per se, because there's so many casual viewers that come and go, but the ones that bother to follow you on social media and follow you around, that certainly changed a little bit. I think all of us, apart from maybe you and like Matt and like them lot, all of us were like teenagers when we started it, and when the community started, we're all in school, we all had so much free time. I think you've seen slowly a few people here and there kind of stop doing it because they've kind of grown up basically. They've had to ditch YouTube and they've had to just do what they have to do, whether it be school, uni, work, and then a couple of us lucky few can actually continue doing it as a job. So it's certainly evolved in that way.
It's interesting because we had such a big community maybe 2 or 3 years ago. We went through this time where when we started, the community was relatively small, got big, and now it seems like a lot of people are dropping off. And so if you want to get involved in it, it's actually kind of a good time to maybe get involved in it, because there's not as many of us around anymore. Which is interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of people sort of festering around that 100 subscriber, below their 1,000 mark at the moment. But do you feel like it's harder these days to sort of, because you've got the two, you're up there, and then you've got down here,
I think YouTube in general
starts, and then you've got the rest of the sort of downhill. Or are you saying
I think YouTube in general is just very different to when we did it. Like when we started, the algorithm for like search engines and stuff like that was a lot more simple. Now it's like, like you're going to get the video today in your sub box, cool. One day you get it, one day you don't. So it's very erratic. So even for us, it's kind of like a day-to-day sort of frustration. So I can't imagine what it's like trying to grow from like 100 subscribers right now. So in that kind of way, it's almost harder.
Yeah. To just consistently grow and keep a viewership. Whereas like back in the day, it's really funny to laugh about now, but like back then we could do like a race review where we talk about what happened in the Grand Prix, stick a real life thumbnail over it, and you'd be guaranteed like 50.
Yeah, a really good amount of views. Whereas now it's like there's so much content. Also, F1 itself doing its own content now is actually a huge deal. Like I don't think people realize that actually it's great for viewers that F1 does a lot of content. For us as individual people, not even like companies, like just individual people in their houses doing videos, it's very difficult now sometimes to get eyeballs on your content when F1 themselves do so much local content. Obviously they can do anything with the real life footage, we can't do anything, otherwise we'll get a copyright strike. So in that way it's also a little bit harder to, you know, like you said, like it used to be so easy to get like a good amount of views on like a race
view.
I
suppose it makes it difficult for you to do real life F1 stuff.
Yeah.
But you can just do games galore as much as you want, but obviously you want to expand to do more sort of real life, get those viewership from older fans possibly who are just more into
just do different stuff
F1.
really, just, you know, like play around with it. I mean, for me personally, I love gaming anyway, so like I'm never going to get stray away from that too much. But at the same time, you as F1 fans, you just want to discuss the sport at some point. And I mean, with Formula 1 investing so much in its own content, you almost want to go with the wave and try and add on to that. Yeah. Because there are clearly new people that are now watching F1 on YouTube via their highlights and stuff like that. Maybe older viewers that weren't into YouTube before, and they might, you know, peer around the related videos and might stumble upon you. So it's a chance to also get noticed that way. But it's harder and easier in a way. Like like I get what you mean by there's definitely a lot less people actually doing the videos, but because YouTube's so complicated these days, it's actually harder to still get noticed.
Yeah, the yardsticks are always moving, so it's an ever changing obstacle, YouTube, and that's just the beauty of it, I suppose.
Yeah,
it's chaos.
Where could you potentially see it going though in the future? Like, do you feel like 1 million subscribers is possible in this community?
Well, if we stick at it long enough, but I feel like we probably need to expand a little bit and hope that Liberty Media come in and maybe help foster in a younger audience through like F1 Esports, and just many other ways. But yeah, growth for F1 gaming is just such a niche, area. So, growth is pretty hard. So yeah.
Just take into account like the fact that F1 game sales aren't even 1 million.
No.
They sell, I think the best they sold is 2017 when career mode 2016 when career mode came back. I think they sold like just over 500,000 copies worldwide. And that was on the PS4. So like, if they're not selling 1 million copies, there's not 1 million people interested in F1 gaming per se. But like he said, with Liberty Media coming in, the hope is that you're just getting younger fans interested in F1. And I think younger fans, if they like F1, the real life sport, they will definitely like the gaming stuff because, younger kids, they have short attention spans, they want a lot of action, and that's what you get with F1 gaming.
Yeah,
Whereas
definitely.
All older audiences already into F1, they don't really get it, they don't see any kind of, entertainment value in it, but obviously all three of us are kind of that part of that generation where now, you're watching Twitch streams as entertainment. Like I personally for me, I watch so many Twitch streams every evening instead of maybe usual TV shows. So it's just that, I think F1 is a very niche thing though. So it's like, I want to say we could get there, but it will take a lot of outside things that are not in our control for it to happen, I think.
But like you say with Liberty Media, hopefully they would bring in possibly opportunities for you as well to work with them. That would be amazing for you guys because that's amazing opportunities for you to move on with. But hopefully there is that potential in the future of them taking over, them being social media very much top priority for them.
Yeah.
As hopefully something that both of you could do, races. Is that any goals of yours, like presenting or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely for me, I want to do more than just the gaming stuff. I love gaming; that will always be my number one thing. But I love presenting as well. I like the idea of being part of a whole team and doing something bigger than that. And I think just talking about real life F1, like I've done my own podcast on my channel for like 3 years now. And it's really helped me keep my interest alive in the sport rather than just kind of fading away a little bit. I feel like some of the community guys on Twitter, I feel like over the last 3 years, you've seen some people wavering on how much they actually enjoy the sport these days and like care to engage with it. So I think for me, like, I'm still fully engaged with it. I would love to do more kind of real life stuff with it.
Yeah, and you, Mr. Daly?
Something I haven't thought all too much about. Oh my god, my voice. By the way, I've got a sore throat. I'm gonna need water. I was fine 20 seconds ago.
Just turned into literally a 12-year-old boy there. We're talking about old channels, and you've gone back to literally start off at Ben's.
That's probably how it sounded his first commentary.
Hey guys, it's me, Ben.
Yeah, that's how he sounded his first commentary, probably.
Yeah, goals for the future. Anything that you've sort of considered that you would love to do involving the F1 world?
Yeah, get as close to the sport as we possibly can. We've had some great opportunities the last year going to Abu Dhabi. Getting to interview F1 drivers, which we've both done in the past. I think the next step is maybe doing gaming with F1 drivers. I think that would be a great concept we could kickstart and would gain a lot of interest. But yeah, I mean, whatever opportunities come our way, I think we're both pretty keen to snap them up.
Yeah. Well, talking about real life F1, as we've sort of diverted onto that. Brazilian Grand Prix was recently. Obviously, the big debate from that is Max Verstappen versus Esteban Ocon. Of course, everyone had a first opinion straight away. Has that changed since you have reviewed extra footage of that?
My stance hasn't changed, which was Ocon. Ocon's the guy who's lapped, so in my eyes, like, the rule book doesn't say anything like that, but I feel like if you're lapped, you're not part of the relevant race. So you may be obliged to overtake if you are faster, but I feel like the onus is on the lapped car completely to do the overtake in a clean manner. I feel like the leader should not have to do anything for you as a lapped car. Like Ocon, he had the speed. He could have waited patiently through turns 1 and 2 and then blitzed him on the straight, because he caught him up so much on the back corner up the hill. So there's no way he wouldn't have overtook him after the center S. So for me, I'm still kind of like 90% Ocon, 10% Max, like that little bit of like, okay, he could have just given the room and wouldn't have hurt his race lead, but still, I feel like a lapped car.
See, I see it the other way. I feel like Max should have just let him go. Like, they were side by side through that second corner. It wasn't like it was that. For audio listeners, my hands are in different places. But they were side by side. There was a little bit where Max was ahead, but they were side by side. Max didn't give him any room. He just turned into that corner like he wasn't there. Yeah. And if you're going to do that with a driver next to you, you've got to pay the consequences at the end of the day.
The thing is, he had so much to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
He was leading the race by like 10 seconds. I know, like, Ocon is pretty shady what he did, to be honest, but as the race leader, you've got to have that survival instinct to, because you've got so much to lose. You want to win the race. Red Bull, how many times in a year do they have an opportunity to win a race? Yeah. And then they, did it in Monaco, where he had the opportunity to get pole, and then did he crash? I think he crashed in qualifying, I believe. So it's just these crucial moments where he just lacks that calmness just to make the right decision.
And it's not like he didn't see him, because he went defensively into turn 1 as well. So he knew he was there. He knew he was coming. So it's not like you can say, I didn't know he was there. He knew he was there at the end of the day. So my stance, especially after seeing the footage which you were talking about, of how much he closed up. There's no reason to fight that. It's not like he was just quick on the straights. You can see how much he was
I'll go back to, like, Hamilton ironically said that he should have waited up and, being like more cool, but Hamilton himself was once an lapped car that was trying to overtake people. Hockenheim 2012.
Yeah, I remember.
And Hamilton himself, being the lapped car, waited for the straight to overtake Vettel and Jensen, because he knew, okay, Jensen's fighting Seb, I need to overtake them in a way where I can maybe even give Jensen a tow and help him out a bit. Whereas this was like in the center S, like, let alone a lap car, just overtaking in a normal race condition is so difficult. What makes you think that the race leader is going to be so lenient like that?
I mean, he did it to Alonso, and there's the pictures that he put up on Twitter shows that Alonso is the same car as Max Verstappen.
If you look at the photos, even of that one, like Ocon, like, literally tweeted them out, Instagrammed them, and you can see he's a lot more alongside Alonso than he was Verstappen. And I go back to the difference is you're lapped. So it's just like,
it is a tough one, because obviously the rules state that you can unlap yourself.
Yeah, you can.
But at the same time, I do agree that it was a stupid place to go for it, but then at the same time, I feel like Max should have given him. So I'm sort of in the middle.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you can say a lot in hindsight. You can say a lot in hindsight. I think in the moment, if you're the race leader, I feel like you're not even, like, when you see a lapped car, you're not even thinking about it. You're just, unless they're getting in your way, and you say blue flags, you're not thinking about what they're doing behind you. You know, you should be like, I'm fine. It's because think about like in normal road car terms, the car behind is always at fault. If you get in an accident on the road, the car behind is always the one in. Even if you brake check the guy behind you, the guy usually behind you is still one in fault because he should react to you. So I feel that's the same way.
I'm sure that's how it works. But
I'm not actually brake checked.
I'm getting your point.
Do you have a bit of experience with brake checking?
Never.
On the M25.
On the on the M40, just bang.
Yeah.
No, but usually, it like most of the cases, 90% of the time on the road, the car behind's at fault. And so I feel that's the same way. Like the lapped car, I feel like almost after this, I feel like they should put that in writing in the rules that you can unlap yourself, but you've got to do it in a timely manner, in a safe area.
Usually on a straight, I guess.
Yeah.
Not into the corners. Yeah. It's a tricky one because you can see it from both ways, and obviously Max, as a race leader, should just be like, you know, it's not worth it. Let's let him go.
Yeah, at the same time, yeah.
Let's talk about though Mercedes. They were poor at the start of the season. Absolutely, well, not absolutely awful. They were up there, but they weren't as good as Ferrari.
Yeah.
Ferrari definitely had it from the off.
Yeah.
And I think definitely there was a switch sort of halfway through the season, just like that, and it's just Mercedes all the way.
Waltzing away.
Yeah, exactly, with it. Same with Lewis Hamilton as well, and Vettel. It's just been...
Well, let's ask the Lewis fan.
Oh, not Lewis.
What he thinks of... He's wearing his clothing line.
I just like the...
Have you stopped celebrating yet?
Yeah.
Well, for me, this has been a horrible year. Ricardo,
The Australian, surprise.
I've pretty much just had to detach myself from the season and gone, all right, this is a write-off. Maybe 2019's a write-off too, so I'll wake me up in about 2 or 3 years and ask me how things are going then. But yeah, it's been pretty just domination from Lewis. I think he's
not put a foot wrong.
From the outside, it just looks like he's getting better and better.
Apart from the first half of the season, he was a bit...
But it wasn't even him, really. It was more the car. Like I don't think for him as a driver, I don't think he's like... It's okay, maybe a little bit at the start, but since, what was it, Germany, he's been bulletproof. Yeah. Nothing's gone wrong. Like, if anything's gone wrong, it's to do with the car.
He's been like second and first or thirds, literally been podiums all the way.
Yeah, he's driven it to the max. Even Mexico, he drove that car to the max of that, what it would get, so...
Yeah, and he outperformed Bottas at the start of the season as well, so you can't really fault him. Did I get something wrong?
No.
Okay, I thought he's been looking at me like I said something stupid.
No, Bottas got a little bit unlucky at the start, but I think so many people bought into the Bottas thing, especially at Baku when he could have won.
Yeah.
And that picture of him so sad, I think that was more pettiness of like, no, that's not the word, like pity of like, oh, we feel so bad. But you've seen now clearly. I'm not going beating around the bush. I don't want him in F1. I don't think he deserves the drive. I think he could drive a midfield car, like go back to Williams or something. But I think he's just literally taking up that seat now. I would have loved to have seen an Ocon in Mercedes, just for the fact that I think on his day,
Max Verstappen round 2, yeah.
that and 2 on his day, I think he could do a better job than Bottas on his day. And Bottas doesn't have many days.
No, he hasn't really. Like, he hasn't got a single race win this season in a race-winning car. No. Unless there is something secretly happening behind closed doors, like with Van Dorn and Alonso, where Hamilton's car is better. But you assume that it's probably not there.
I don't think it's that.
Very identical.
He could have got Russia, obviously. But at that point, you can only blame Bottas for not being in championship position. Yeah. Like, at that point, you are the number 2 driver. Just move out of the way. Yeah. Your teammate wants to win. Same thing, like, that's why I criticised Ferrari at Germany for not swapping them earlier. Because... you don't know if it would have made a difference, but I feel like if Vettel was leading the entire time, maybe that little bit of pressure's off and he doesn't make that lock-up mistake and go off. So, when those things happen, you have to kind of be a bit more, just number-wise of like, right, this is a mathematical best thing to do for everyone here. Let's forget a token win for our second driver.
Yeah. I mean, he's not really been good at all this season. Last season, he got a few race wins, but still... it's not really been.
He's had his fun in Merc. I think it's now. It's now time.
He's got his race win. Get him out.
It's now time to leave. It's time to go.
Right, let's move on from real life F1. Let's move on to F1 Esports this Saturday or this Friday and Saturday because they like to do it a bit weird.
Yeah.
They are going to be doing the grand finale, and we're all going to be there at the actual event. So that's going to be good fun. How have you enjoyed the season so far of it?
Do you want to go?
It's been hotly contested. Obviously, you can look into it a little bit deeper and see that Brendan's been winning so many races.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like real F1, blah blah blah. Mercedes dominating. But if you look deeper into it, they've been been pushed right to the limit by Toro Rosso, and now even Sauber is starting to creep up a little bit now.
Yeah, well, there's been some really fun races. You know, the first night that was great across the line. Baku, Toro Rosso v the Merc, what was it, Ramnison v Lee, and then event number 2 was even crazier because, especially for us guys, for the Sauber guys that are powered by Veloce, to see Sally get across the line 3 wide and just pit Brendan across the line was absolutely insane.
Had it again in Silverstone until he got given.
Well, yeah, that was
So
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate.
It's just the racing is just so much closer. Like, obviously, you think about it, the race that we had so far, Australia wasn't really that hotly contended at the front. It was Brendan Lee drove away with it, Daniel in second. Then you had China next, wasn't it? I think Brendan Lee, that was a comfortable victory again for him.
Yeah, because I think Danny was leading as for a decent portion, but he was going long and they were on a constant strategy. So eventually it just played out that they swapped anyway in terms of strategy play. But it's been really close. I think at the start, I feel like everyone almost maybe underestimated how much preparation the Mercedes guys did, and it was a big wake-up call for everyone to kind of wake up. Also at the same time, I think a lot of them maybe weren't ready for the occasion in a way. I think they got, there's definitely some jitters. You can't deny that. I know it's the F1 game, they're playing a racing game, but that's what happens in those moments. Like, you get a little bit nervous, you get sweaty palms, and sometimes things just don't work out.
I mean, we've seen a lot of pit lane speed limit.
My Donoso at Silverstone was so gutting. You could tell by his reaction that he was so down about that. And it's those little things that are the difference, especially in esports. When it's so close going to real life,
exactly.
You can't make an error like that, because that would have been the difference between him getting 4th or 5th.
Yeah,
and he's right up there. Yeah,
5 the win. So.
Do you feel like they need to change the penalties then, because it is so close? And it's not like real life F1 where you've got your Formula A, your Formula B, your Formula C. Whereas in this, you've got everyone and then the Haas drivers.
They've been pretty slow.
I think the penalties are fine. Like, I don't know if they were more.
Seconds?
No, they were harsher, but then they brought them down to 5 seconds in the last round, which is a bit more fair in what we see in league racing. You can't speed into the pit lane. Yeah,
I know that you should still definitely get penalised for it, but I'm just saying, are they just too strict?
I honestly think the game's not ready for it right now. They need to remove that and just have it like it was in Series 1, where you could just blast it in. I know it looks stupid. The game is not ready for it, because I've had so many times in career mode where I've definitely sped, and on the line it's gone green, and it's like, that was really iffy.
Yeah.
Conscious rate, there's been times where I've definitely not sped and it's given me a penalty. So it's like, I don't think it's there yet. They need to know bulletproof for sure, because wasn't there an issue at China in event 1? Where
someone wasn't speeding and they got done, I think.
Yeah.
Rasmussen, I think it was.
But they have
one of the Toro Rosso.
But they have stewards there to look at those things and make adjustments if need be. So if the game does fail, they have the human eye to fix those things up.
Yeah,
but
which did
I think
happen in China.
It did happen. It took too long though. Like, what was it? Was it the day after, or just like many hours after?
I think it might have been many hours after. No, because it was. Because that was
it was an evening event. Yeah, it was an evening event.
Yeah.
So it was the day after they brought the press release out, and it's just like, I know we want it to be like real F1, but not that much. Like for like a day after the event, something changed like that. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, I think it's been, the penalty stuff has been fine. There's not really been that many, actually.
No. I think the problem is it makes it look like a bigger penalty than what it is, because the races are so much shorter and you don't have that much time to make up the difference after being set back a little bit. Whereas, like, because the races are so short, everyone's so aggro, making moves and really attacking those, pit stop parts of the race. So, you don't have too much time to.
Yeah. So for improvements, would you say 50% or 100% races for the future?
Well, they're trying to bring in a 50%. Well, they're bringing in a 50% race for the final.
They've
got 50 for the final. I'm curious to see how that is for the race itself, like how close it ends up being, because obviously all these guys league race, all of them get pretty close for the entire 50% race. But I don't know about the viewer attention span, because there's a reason why most of us cut down on 50% races. Like, by the end of it, my footage on a video is worth a 25% race, but it's been a 50% race distance, because there's a lot of periods where nothing is happening, just like real F1. There's no way you can get action every single lap. Well, maybe you can. Maybe they'll prove us wrong. But I mean, I think 50. I think What they've got is great though, because it is like a sprint mode race.
Yeah.
It's so intense. It reminds me of Call of Duty when you have those short. If you don't know how CWL works, they have 5 different games across, and it's like the best of 5. And I feel like it's that nice short and sweet rounds, really punchy, keeps it fresh. But then at the same time, with the penalties, the scaling's a little bit off.
Maybe 3 seconds.
Yeah, something like that. I think the scaling's a little bit wrong. And then also at the same time, I just don't get why they do one race off camera.
I hate
do
that.
Need to improve that.
Friday, the final is going to be even worse because they do 2 races, and the drivers.
Do you even know because I don't even know how it's structured out, to be honest, at the moment. Is it 2 races on the Friday, 1 race behind closed doors on the Saturday, and then we watch the grand finale live?
I hope.
Or is it the 2 races on the Saturday? I'm hoping
I hope it's a 25% race, and then the 50 on the live event. I can understand if it's 50 on the live event, because from Gfinity side and like the kind of more marketing side of things, they still don't understand, I don't think, how much 50% is just a standard across our community. Of when you do league racing, career mode racing, usually 50% is the way to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Like back in the day, it was 25, I guess. Then it kind of moved to 100. For a little bit, because especially with career mode, 100% races used to be the only way you could get good enough action for a long video. But now it doesn't make a difference. It just extends the stint times. So I think Gfinity and them still need to get in their heads that league racing is all done on 50% race. These guys, when they practice, their practice must be so different to what they do for practice for league racing, because it's all 50%. But then at the same time, also the game's in a way where I think all the setups are literally time trial setups, so it doesn't really matter in the end.
They are, They've got this weird thing. I only just discovered this the other day. They have Parc Fermé's off, so they have a qualifying setup and then they have a race setup, because they do qualifying like during the day and then they exit out of that and then they have the race later. So they have 2 completely different setups. And because it's a short race anyway, they're just pushing every lap of the strategy. Doesn't come into it that much, so it's a bit interesting.
It was a shame, because with the whole tyre carcass temperature thing for this year's game, I was assuming that was going to be a decent part for esports. 50% race, people trying to look after their tyres and actually play it a little bit cool. Because every single league race I watch, I don't know about this year because I haven't watched too much league racing this year, but last year's game, everyone's pushing flat out every single lap, and you just pit when your tyres are like nearly cooked. You pit and you just push every single lap. There's no tyre wear saving. There's no lifting coast to save fuel. There's no taking care of your tyres by going maybe half a second slower on purpose like you kind of do right now in this year's game with the tyre carcass temperatures. So I think it's a missed opportunity because they've got this new feature for Cody's as well. They could have plugged that so many times, because of the new temperature system. That's why they're having to save the tyres.
It's a big loss because in league racing this year, 50% races have so much strategy. Most of the races, if you want to win the race, you actually have to qualify in the middle compound and avoid the qualifying tyre, because the tyre temps just go out the window and you sometimes can't even do a one stop if you start on the softest compound. So, and it makes it really interesting because some people go for track position, going for that, trying to, I don't know. And if a safety car comes out at the end, if you're on that 2-stop, then you come into the game. But yeah, it just makes things a lot interesting. But with the 1-stop and the 25% races, you don't get that. Everyone's
just a sprint race. It's
doing the same thing.
It's a longer sprint race. We do 5-lap, 3-lap sprint races for open lobbies. It's the same thing, but you're just going a bit longer. You do one pit stop.
And you have to make a pit stop,
So you're saying for the future, definitely, or hopefully next year, 50% races onwards, and hopefully they get that from.
Yeah, they need to look into that. I think they need to also they need to have a bit of a longer stringed out season, I feel.
Yes, yeah.
And just do one race per event. There's enough to talk about in one event. Because how many times when we were watching event 2, so many times I was sat next to you and I was saying they're missing the fight with Sally because they're watching the fight at the top. Yeah. So obviously I wanted to see how our Sauber guys did, but they were focused on the Merc v Toro Rosso fight. So I feel like they did one 50% race for one event. They can really analyse that afterwards, show replays of all the cool moves and, get a bit more exposure for every single team, every single driver.
For example, they've got Matt on the SkyPad sort of thing.
Yeah, doing analysis.
He doesn't really do that much in the actual live event. If you think about it, how much he could do and talk about different drivers, you probably see from one race, one little replay.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not really utilised as much down on that pad as he could be.
Yeah.
And like you say, with expanding the calendar, I feel like probably not next year, but definitely maybe in 3 years, or when they can finally get the game ready early enough, have it spread out amongst the season. At the actual events, at the actual real life races, you have the event there, and then
that could be sick.
Carry it on throughout the rest of the calendar.
That could be amazing. You literally have it's almost the equivalent of like an F2 race at the F1 weekend, like on the official event. What do you call it? Schedule or whatever.
Exactly.
It's there's
get rid of Porsche Supercar.
Yeah, exactly.
No one wants to
watch Porsche Supercar.
And we've just got F1 Esports, and you can play it on the big screens, and you've got an audience there because at the moment it being stuck to a group in a cinema of the guests, VIPs, who are allowed to come,
and then broadcast on Facebook.
On Facebook, it needs to be improved. So if you showed it at the real life races, you could show it on TV. You could also show it at the races on the big screens. People would watch it there still in the stands and stuff like that. And then you could stream it on YouTube or Twitch. Yeah, which is obviously the way.
Yeah, I mean, to go. Like F1's, like we said, it's such a niche game, niche esports that we need to take advantage of the fact that there's not many other esports that can do something like that where they can broadcast it at a live event and get so many new eyeballs on it. Like COD can't do that. Overwatch can't do that. FIFA can't even do that because the logistics aren't the same thing. Yeah. It's a bit different when in an F1 day, there's so much time to kill at a day. Like we've all been to Grand Prix. There's so much time you're just sitting around doing nothing, just having a drink or whatever. So you can watch the esports thing whilst that goes on, and that in turn gets more eyeballs on the esports, gets more eyeballs on the game, and everyone, all of us. The esports, everything rises because you get more eyeballs on it, basically.
And it's not like you'd have to worry about, different cars on the tracks at different times because these aren't on the actual track. So you could have it literally straight after quali, straight after everything's sort of done. Bang, there we go. There's the qualifying session of the esports or something like that. Or have 2 races a weekend, sprint race, 25%, and then a 50% on another day. You could easily have that spread out across the weekend and having that in between. So I reckon that could definitely be a good idea for the future. Have you got any other things you want to sort of mention for the future of esports, like what you definitely would love to see?
They're definitely taken in the right direction. We have been pretty harsh on what we've said so far, so we just want to reiterate that they're doing a really good job.
I think we're critical because we want to see it really good.
At this top level.
Yeah,
obviously it's just starting out.
It's just starting out, so they need to get to it. I mean, from my perspective, I watch a lot of Call of Duty esports, so I see how grand it is, how well of a production it is. And so I want it to get to that point. So for me, it's like, that's why I'm so critical, because I know there's so many different areas that they could be doing. And also I know, like I said, the very unique thing of having such a big real life sport intertwined so much. It's the only esports where you look at it, and if you're old enough and you don't know enough, you might look at it and be like, oh, is that the real thing? And it's not. Yeah. So
the skills carry over because you're literally on a wheel and pedals.
Yeah, the skills do carry. I mean, at the same time, I don't think we should also fall into the trap of saying there has to be that correlation because in its own right, all the other esports do amazing in their own right as their own thing. And I feel like for a lot of esports drivers now coming up, maybe that have just gone to esports because of F1 getting into it, some of these guys, they don't care about going to a real life car. They want to get to the pinnacle of this esports driving.
It's good as well because motorsports is such a tough place to get into. You have to have
so much money,
so much money. Like that. So it's good for these guys who run out of that budget, and they've got esports as an avenue to go into. Especially now, you can be driving for an F1 team, or all of them except Ferrari. So hopefully they do come into it in the future. Hopefully they see that this is a good avenue.
I think being Ferrari, they did a very Ferrari thing of, we'll wait. Yeah. We'll step in at the right time, and they'll try and step in with so much swagger. They'll come in with a fancy presentation. They'll sign the best drivers, and they'll just be like, all right, we're rocking up with Ferrari. This, we're going to win this thing. So I think that's their game plan. But I mean, for esports, I want to see the ecosystem get built around it a little bit more. I think there needs to be more stuff outside of the official esports thing. I think, it'd be really cool to see more mini tournaments being set up on the F1 game. I know AOR is a huge thing that runs, but there's a limit to how much you can grow that. I think there needs to be you see with games like Fortnite, they have so many one-off little tournaments where players can earn money. I feel like if there's an ecosystem that gets built out where people are running tournaments and there's a little tiny prize pool of you can win £100 for winning that weekend's race. It'd be really great just to keep the interest bubbling away. You have a feeder series in a way of kind of, people, that's how they gain experience, stuff like that. So I think the ecosystem itself.
Do you think that would work if the separate ones were, one race every other weekend sort of thing, like they do in real life F1? Would that sort of satisfy that, or would there still need to be something else? or like a feeder series of like F2 for Formula One Esports, where the guys who aren't quite as good, maybe a bit younger, sort of.
I think if
under 16s league as
well,
I mean,
something like that. In like three years time or something like that, if they've got the main one to the point where they feel like they can branch out and do other stuff, I think it'd be great to then have a bit of a ladder to climb essentially, because then it's also easier. Because I don't think a lot of people maybe don't really engage too much with the qualifiers that much. Like, it's a very weird way to qualify. It's a random event on the F1 game, and then you do a streamed race, but it's not streamed by F1, it's streamed by AOR, and it's run through the F1 Twitch account, F1 game Twitch account. Yeah. It's not a very coherent way of qualifying. I feel like they need to almost have the qualifiers also displayed in a nice, neat way, where it's like it's an official qualifier. Yeah. This is what we're doing, a mini tournament here to get through the levels, I guess.
That's another thing. Do you think they do a pro draft again next year?
Yeah, I think so. Well, this year the rules were really weird. It was like, only one driver had to get picked from the pro draft?
Yeah, each team only had to select one driver from the pro draft. So literally, you or me could have got picked by like McLaren or something, and we didn't need to be fast.
Yeah, well, that's what happened with with Merck. They signed 3 guys off camera.
Yeah.
It was only Daniel, wasn't it? That was on.
Yeah, only Dan. Yeah, our Veloce Formula Danny was thankfully the guy who got picked by Merck. He's doing a great job. But yeah, they went and just signed 3 drivers outright behind closed doors. Yeah. McLaren did the same thing with their little link up with Team
McLaren
Redline?
Shadow?
Yeah, McLaren Shadow and their little affiliation with Team Redline, isn't it?
Okay.
So yeah, it was really odd. It was a very odd rule to be like only one has to be picked from this pro draft, because you have so many other people popping up out of nowhere. And if I'm a casual viewer and I've watched the pro draft, I'm like, what's going on? Where are these people turned up?
Apart from Brendan Lee, you wouldn't know who any of the other people are.
Okay, some of our friends messaged me afterwards when I was doing Instagrams of the pro draft, and they were like, why is Toro Rosso signed 3 drivers? Why is Merck only signed 1?
Yeah.
And I have to try and explain to them. It's like, and they're F1 friends of ours, if they're a casual viewer that just likes real F1, they've stumbled upon it, they're going to be so confused. Yeah. So it was very odd.
I feel like next year maybe they just do the one. Each team just sign one, because I'm expecting a lot of teams just to sort of stick with the drivers that they've got.
Yeah, I think a lot of them will just re-sign contracts.
Unless there's anyone that's not really improved. I think maybe Haas might go in a new avenue, or unless they want to put more money into their esports team, because we can't deny that they have been the worst of the bunch at the moment. They've not really done it for
only 1 point.
And then it's 14, so they are literally like the back markers. So they need to either work on putting funding into that and for practice for their guys, or they need to think about getting other drivers.
Yeah,
there is such a big discrepancy in how many teams have taken the series seriously versus like Haas, for example. I think Mercedes is the only team that has all their drivers
in-house.
I think
they're the only one that's taken
practicing together.
Maybe Toro Rosso as well, because they're doing quite well. I think you've got to look at the teams that are doing well. Maybe they're the ones that have been taken seriously.
I think Red Bull and Toro Rosso together, they've taken it seriously. They've flown their drivers out to Milton Keynes to practice there. Mercedes, like I said, have a team house. So that's the only team here that has a team house. Mm-hmm. So you can tell the difference in preparation. So yeah, I think for Haas, they just maybe, I think they just didn't pick very wisely. I think they that's the thing also with a lot of these drivers don't actually play F1 as their main game.
Yeah, and they didn't come from F1, did they?
Yeah, no, they came from Assetto Corsa, and that's the difference. Like, you're not playing Assetto Corsa, you're playing the F1 game. Yeah. Like, it's a very different game, and I think there needs to be that, you need to stop thinking of it like sim racing. You need to think of it as
its own competition.
F1 esports. It is the F1 game esports. It's not sim racing, it's F1 esports. Like, you can play Battlefield, but you might not be good at Call of Duty. You don't have many Halo players playing in the official Call of Duty teams, neither Battlefield guys. It's the same thing. It literally is. So I think, Haas and some other teams picked a little bit unwisely. They should have, I think, looked a lot more, to be honest, at leagues like AOR.
Yeah.
And they should have looked at, who are the actual quick guys on the game that play week in, week out and have like 500 hours clocked in the game.
Yeah.
We should see a much more fair competition next year, I think, because everyone will see which drivers are really good. They'll probably put more money into it. I heard some stories from some drivers about, only just getting their Fanatec wheel like days before competition. It's not good enough to...
Our friend...
Well, Cem of Toro Rosso, his wheel got stuck in customs because he lives in Turkey, and he told Red Bull that there's no way you're getting this through customs because they're so strict. And lo and behold, he did not have his thing. So the first event, for the good of his team, really good sport, said, I'm not going to race because I haven't practiced enough. And so obviously rocked up in the second event, did really well after practicing. So yeah, stuff like that. Hopefully that's all just...
It wasn't really Toro Rosso's fault, to be fair, but...
Okay. No, that's not Toro Rosso's fault, but it's in like, I think foresight should have been maybe seen like...
Yeah. They needed their equipment like months before. Like when was it, like July that they got all announced for Pro Draft, and then the first round was like
First round was like September.
Okay,
I think Pro Draft was straight after Silverstone, wasn't it? Because they did the test in Silverstone, and then did the thing straight after. So definitely need to be done sort of before. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of drivers will be sort of fizzled out at the end of this one, and then next year I feel like some more will be definitely put in their places. But talking about Mercedes, I think a lot of teams should adapt that strategy. Maybe not all in the UK, that doesn't have to be there, but where their teams are based, should definitely sort of set up something for these guys.
I mean, Mercedes are definitely going to make a loss on this because the prize pool's not big enough.
Yeah, but it is going to get bigger.
If it gets bigger,
we can expect it to
get bigger. The way Merck has set it up, it's a great long-term investment because eventually they will make their money back on how much they're spending. I can't imagine on a team house. But right now, I think maybe for the smaller teams, i.e. like Haas maybe, they didn't see the benefit of putting so much money into esports yet. Whereas Mercedes, large company, you'd be like, okay, cool, we'll put all our eggs into this, really do it well. But yeah, I think next year, like with the driving, I think the teams will get a bit of a wake up call of like, right, if we do actually want to compete, we have to put in the funding, put in the time.
The prize pool last year was 2,000, I think. Yeah. And then this year it's 200,000.
200,000. Yeah.
So,
which I think is weird though. I don't know if you two agree with me. I don't agree with how it's all based on the team.
It is a bit
because it
weird.
Fully takes away from the drivers. If Danny's a great guy and clearly he's playing it really smart. He's a really smart cookie because he knows Brendan's really quick on this game. So, but he's said it so many times in the interviews. It's all about the team. It's all about the team because he knows
it's too nice.
He knows. I think he's been so clever. Like he knows there is no money in the drivers' championship.
Yeah.
Oh, it's some pride. What's some pride if you're going to get paid well by your team for winning the actual thing?
It's weird as well because obviously Mercedes, you've got 4 drivers in there instead of just having your 2 set. Mercedes have pretty much got their 2 set drivers as Brendan Lee and Daniel Berets now. But then you've also got teams like Sauber, R1 for example, they do like to switch them around.
Rotation,
it works when you've got drivers who are better at different tracks, of course, that's definitely going to really help you out. But then that takes away from the Drivers' Championship and makes it sort of not really that relevant if you have drivers who are just not taking part. You've got the drivers who are up there, obviously, Brendan, Frederick Rasmussen, Daniel, and I think both Toro Rosso drivers have switched as well. So Tosman and Chen, they've switched over, so they're sort of out. They've not really got a chance. Sally's been every single race, so he's there. And I think Joni Tomola is the other one that's sort of up there. And he's raced every single race. Red Bull, the only one that have got 2 drivers.
Only two drivers.
So they're the only
ones. And they're doing pretty well. They're in the championship wise, they're 3rd place. They're fighting for that with Sauber. So they've done pretty well there. But I just don't get it because it makes no sense. It works for other esports where it is a team game. Like, I keep banging on about Call of Duty.
Yeah, but Call of Duty works with it being a team.
Yeah, it works because you have 5 people all playing for the same team and it's team v team.
It's not about
F1 is you alone in the cockpit. So I feel like it just takes away so much.
Especially as a viewer of real life F1, the Drivers' Championship is all anyone cares about. Mercedes won the Constructors' Championship this weekend. We can all praise it, but we didn't actually care too much.
So
we can say, well done, you've done a great achievement, but no one really cares too much. Whereas the Drivers' Championship, that's the pinnacle. That's what we all want to sort of watch.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit... Hopefully it is sort of fixed, but, will they fix it where there is going to be a driver's pool? We just have to sort of...
Hopefully they do. Next year, I want to see a separate pool for team and driver.
Well, we'll leave that there. We'll leave that in the comment section. Do you think there should be like a separate pool for drivers and Constructors' Championship? But we'll definitely leave it there. Thank you to both of you guys for coming on to this first podcast. I hope you enjoyed your stay.
It's been good. It's been good.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to kick it all off. Hopefully there'll be many more to come.
Yeah, definitely many more. And hopefully we'll have some very special guests coming on in the future as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the Veloce channel, like this video, and we will see you very soon with another podcast.
Bye.